All right, it's Wednesday, December 10th. Don't be distracted by the glow here in the studio. It's not a filter. It's the glowing, pregnant Alyssa Farah Griffin.
The very sore Alyssa Farah Griffin.
You're suffering a little bit this week, aren't you?
Back. Nobody talks about how uncomfortable. Well, okay, they probably do.
I think they do.
But like the third trimester is so uncomfortable.
It's been a while for me since I had a pregnant wife, but whatever you need a pillow, you need book some massage time, whatever you need.
I actually just booked a massage this weekend, so
as you should.
Yes.
As you should. Is it really just kicked in lately? How are you feeling?
I overall feel really good.
People were really worried about you last week when you were out.
That was the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I have this problem. I keep vocalizing like bad things that could happen. I literally said to my husband, I'm like, imagine getting like a stomach bug while being super pregnant. That would be terrible. A week later, it happens.
Over Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah,
we never really talked about it.
Yeah, my whole family got taken out. We've got little nieces and nephews, they're the cutest, but they're little petri dishes of germs. So, but everyone got over it in 12 hours because they're healthy and not immunocompromised. It took me 5 days to get over it. And I couldn't eat anything, couldn't hold anything down. It was very unpleasant. I feel great now. Now I'm just dealing with the general discomforts of like my back really starts to hurt midday and sleeping is just not a thing.
Oh, I'm sorry. How much are you getting?
This is TMI, but you get up every hour because you have to pee. And It's not even that you really have to. It's that the baby is just sitting down here on your bladder. So it's more the inconsistency of it. And then you have all your older relatives being like, sleep while you can. I'm like, I haven't slept in weeks.
The most annoying advice. Yeah. It really is. Because what does that mean? It doesn't.
You can't bank sleep.
No, you can't. And it means nothing.
It means nothing.
I will say, like, several times in the last couple of weeks, I've freaked out because you disappeared from the table and I had no idea why. And then you're off in a bathroom somewhere, which is completely...
I can't make it through a show.
You're
I'm like
on a commercial break. And I'm like, is she coming back?
And I move a little slower now, too. But yes, I'm doing great.
All right. Well, whatever you need,
thriving.
We're happy to have you back and feeling good. All right. Let's talk some politics. We talked about it on the show today, and this is something you've talked about for years now, which is the concept of affordability and the difficulty in telling people things are okay when they don't feel okay. And this is something you talked about through President Biden's reelection attempts and through Kamala Harris's run, and now we're talking about it with President Trump because he is being surprisingly dismissive of how people are feeling and the idea that it's all affordability is a hoax. What do you make of this?
I mean, that line alone is just so wild. And then that he said in this Dasha Burns Politico interview, basically he would give the economy an A++++. It's really remarkable to me, a couple of things. So there are systemic things in the U.S. economy that have made it that our dollar is going less far than it ever has over decades. It's bigger than any one president or any one administration. But then you add to that, as I mentioned on the show, self-inflicted wounds by this president that have made the economy worse. And that's where I really take issue, because I think early on he tried to kind of say, this is just holdover from Biden. The best is yet to come. The economy is going to get better. But he did these sweeping tariffs that basically every economist, left, right, and center, would tell you are going to raise consumer costs. I'm not a genius on these issues, but like any person could tell you why importing things and charging more is going to be passed down to the consumer. And now he's dealing with those consequences. And I think it's particularly pronounced for Americans heading into the holidays. I think we're always aware of our budgets.
Of course.
We're always aware of, I really want to put off that bill. But coming up on the holidays, you want to have a little extra money. You want to be able to get those nice things for your family. And it's the biggest conversation with my family and friends. And I'd argue my friends are higher income earners, and they're very much aware that it feels like it's harder than it ever has been to get ahead. So I'm struck by how tone deaf he is, because he did seem aware of what a flaw it was of Biden's. He was good at exploiting on the campaign trail that Biden kept saying, the economy's getting better, the economy's getting better. And Trump was like, no, and he owns this. He got that. But now he's in office and he's doing what Biden did 10 times worse. But one thing I've said this to you before, that's to keep in mind with Donald Trump is he's so different than most Americans. This is a guy who's now worth over $1 billion. A lot of that money has actually been made since he's been in office, too. He bases his perception of the economy on how the market is doing. Right. So the market's generally been performing well since he's been in office, with the major exception of like Liberation Day when he tanked the stock market. But he's like, if the market's up, that means the economy is going well. that doesn't mean it to normal Americans. So
Right.
about 60% of Americans are invested in the market. That's pensions, retirements, just general stock holdings. But think of that. So that means a solid third aren't even invested in the market. But even among that, most of these aren't, that's not money we readily can access. Like if we need to pay something, that's just money that's tied up for retirements and that kind of thing. So he's looking at an indicator it's frankly a wealthy person's model of how the economy is doing.
So here's my question, because, you're somebody who at one point had a job that involved his communications for him. Not in theory. You did have that job. So
no, it was very theoretical if you think about it.
Well, so my question is,
Please say this.
while,
No.
while he may not understand the optics, how bad this is, to literally be telling people that your kids don't need $30 or how many pencils, while coating the White House in gold and building this ballroom and doing all these things. The people around him must know better. Trained communications professionals must know better. So is it a question of they can't get through to him? I mean, you've been in those rooms.
I'm not convinced they're telling him. Because I can think in the first term, there were a good number of folks around him who would take getting yelled at, getting bad reactions from him to be like, sir, this is what's actually happening. These are the facts. Mike Pence was very good at this. And I think Mike Pence is very, I'd say, middle class. He didn't have J.D. Vance's background, to be honest. He came up a lot better than J.D. Vance did, but he was good at being in tune with what's going on back in his home state of Indiana. And he would talk to him, but this is how people are feeling. You need to be aware of this. I don't think people are telling him that. I don't think anyone wants to be the person who's going to say, oh no, beef prices are up, coffee prices are up, despite what you're saying, this is the case.
Nobody's speaking truth to power.
I think that is, and I'm really particularly disappointed with Vice President Vance. I didn't expect differently, but he does have this story and this background of somebody who grew up really struggling. And I think what resonated with some people with him was that he seemed in touch with the working class. And it doesn't sound like anybody's advocating for them right now. It's never been harder to get ahead in the tone deafness of like the ballroom, the gilded White House, and the A+++ on the economy. Like it feels like a slap in the face to voters.
But even, again, it's across party lines. When Kamala was running and people were talking about how she's not getting her messaging through, she needs to separate from Biden.
Yeah.
Are people not giving the messages that need to be given, or are the candidates ignoring it? Are the politicians ignoring it? I mean, listen, I have people, and it's easier said than done. I have people come to me and say, like, why didn't you guys do this on the show when this happened? And I said, okay, you're not in the room. You don't know what this is. It's harder than it seems. And I'm sure it is in the White House.
My strong instinct, I don't know firsthand, is that in the second term, I am not convinced he has many people around him who are telling him when something he's saying is blatantly wrong.
Right.
I saw that not all the time, but I saw it quite a bit in the first term. There were a handful of people who would do that. I don't think that's happening. I think with other politicians, a lot of times it's not that blatant. Usually most that I've worked for are willing to hear and get feedback, and they'll react to stats and they'll respond to it. And then you kind of talk over, okay, how are we going to talk about it? Because you also don't want to be like, you're right, the economy's terrible. You've got to have some kind of hopeful message. But I just think I think he's living in a different universe. I think he's surrounded by very wealthy people. I think he's
who are happy with what he's done,
and who, by the way, their sectors are doing well.
Right.
Big tech, the whole like cryptocurrency industry, they all are doing extreme. Although actually, he's kind of tanking crypto right
seems
now,
like
so
it's
I
a
take
problem
that back.
again. Yeah,
it was doing really well for a minute there, but tech is the main sector that's like really growing. So like, sure, Mark Zuckerberg's happy. He's always economically happy, but the rest of us are just like, where's our help?
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, let's change gears a little bit here and still talk politics. There's a lot of talk about Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett and running for Texas Senate. Now, there are people on our panel who are big fans of Representative Crockett. She's always a great guest when she's here. She's actually booked again in January 6th. The day before Marjorie Taylor Greene returns to The View. We got a lot.
Oh, how messy of you.
Yeah, well, things work out the way they work out. My question is, you seem less bullish on her chances of winning than some at the table.
Yeah. And for the record, I love her as a guest. She's a really effective communicator for the progressive agenda. I think she's one of the biggest rising stars on the left.
Straight talker.
But straight talker. She knows how to communicate in sound bites that are going to resonate. When she goes on TV, you hear about it. Like the worst thing you want is like a communications advisor to someone, is a politician who does 5 interviews and no one remembers anything.
And this is something you've criticized the Democrats for not having enough of.
Yeah.
Of people that know how to, are media savvy in the right way.
It's, to be honest, like Kamala Harris could take some lessons on just direct communicating from Jasmine Crockett, who really gets things to like a tweetable, clippable line.
Right.
My main thing is, well, two things. Texas is not New York City. It's not Vermont. It is a deep red state that's elected Donald Trump actually 3 times, and that hasn't elected a Democrat statewide in almost 30 years. And the closest that in recent memory that Democrats came to winning statewide was 2018 with Beto O'Rourke.
Right.
He had run once before, and he actually came within, I want to say he got like 48%. It was still probably about a 300,000 vote margin, but that's actually huge for a Democrat. There's lessons to take from Beto in that race, but I'm very skeptical that Jasmine Crockett is going to take them. He moved to the middle. He really leaned into his Texas roots, job creation. He didn't run away from the fact that, yes, we have to secure the border, but we believe in human rights and we believe in how we treat immigrants. I don't think having somebody who's going to run on, I am against the entire Trump agenda and I want nothing to do with Greg Abbott or Donald Trump is going to work in a state that's elected those people many times. The interesting thing is the NRSC, which is the National Republican Senatorial Committee, it turns out they basically had a whole campaign to try to goad Jasmine Crockett into the race. This was reported by Notice last night, which basically they fielded all these polls that they paid for that they targeted to progressives that ended up putting her way above the other candidates like Colin Allred, this James Tallarico guy who I keep hyping. And then they were kind of pushing news stories to say she should get in. There's a real demand. And she admitted that the polling is what made her get in because they see her as a more beatable candidate than someone like a Tallarico who is, he went to seminary. He doesn't bash Trump. His identity is not really Trump so much as this is what our values are. This is what we stand for. As a Christian in Texas, this is what I stand for. It's a very different brand. And you have to think about the geographics of the state and the way that different figures play. I think it's a big loss for Dems. I don't think Democrats are going to win Texas in general, but when you have the average Democratic ballot doing plus 14 because of how poorly Trump's doing, you shouldn't throw away a seat
No, absolutely
like that.
not.
And I think
not.
running someone who's seen as an ultra progressive is a little tough in Texas.
All right. Well, we'll have to talk to her about this when
see
she's
that.
here. As we reach the end of 2025 and Trump's first year in his second term is coming to a close, just a year. That's unbelievable.
Wow.
What stood out to you the most?
I don't know. It seems like it's been 10 years.
Well, let's talk about it because when he got elected a year ago, and again, it's crazy because it feels like we've been talking about this forever. There were concerns that the people wouldn't be there to slow him down, that Trump 2.0 would look very different than Trump 1.0. Are you surprised at the level of where we are right now as far as what he's accomplished, as far as his popularity being higher or lower than you expected? What's your year in review?
I think that things went pretty close to how I expected and predicted. And you'll remember after the election, I'm always a glass half full person. Yeah. I have to do it for my own mental health. I was really trying to will into existence that maybe he would learn some lessons, think about legacy, think about ways he doesn't have to be divisive, and in the second term could build on more of a legacy of uniting people. Listen, that was always going to be far-fetched, but I figured put it into the universe.
It was a pipe dream, but yeah.
But as I had predicted for, years prior, as he was running for office, it'd be very different than the first term. You wouldn't have the same kind of adult
the guardrails
in place. I think he'd feel a lot more empowered. I think things that wouldn't have happened, and we take some of them for granted, but keep in mind the fact that the Mueller investigation even took place. That required that he not fire Robert Mueller from the Department of Justice. Now we have a presidency that just directly directs the Department of Justice to do things, has staffed every level down to the Civil Rights Division, down to the most local positions with diehard loyalists. It is so fundamentally different than it was in the first term. One thing that I know I harp on this a lot, and it's not sexy, but it matters to people. I was actually surprised that he went full bore with the tariffs. Because the one thing he kind of had to point to in the first term was the economy did generally well until COVID hit. There were a lot of economic wins to point to. Following the Peter Navarro approach to running the economy and tariffs, that actually surprised me because it's such a self-inflicted wound. And American voters in off years when it's not an election can forgive a lot of chaos if they feel like their pocketbook is doing well.
Right.
And now they have chaos and their pocketbook's not doing well.
All right. Any predictions for this next year?
Short of a drastic turnaround and reversal of some policies and approach, I think you're going to continue to see his unpopularity decrease, and that gets interesting to me ahead of
his unpopularity increase or decrease?
Oh, yeah. How would you describe it? He will
Unpopularity,
continue to
yeah.
be more and more unpopular
Got it.
nationally. I think heading into the midterms, that's significant, A, because of the impact on the control of Congress, but also because after the midterms, there's this feeling that he's kind of a lame duck. I don't think he's ever going to let us make him feel like a lame duck, but that's when you'll start seeing, does Marco Rubio, does J.D. Vance, do people start jockeying away from him? Do they start positioning themselves outside of him? And you're kind of seeing this already. Marjorie Taylor Greene distancing herself, Nancy Mace, who I'm not the biggest fan of, who's running for governor in South Carolina, she's creating some real distance from him. So you might start to see this where Republicans who know they have to exist in the post-Trump time try to create some distance from him.
Yeah.
And I think it could happen as early as this coming year.
And he's not going to like that, I would think.
He's going to hate it.
So that's going to be entertaining.
And you'll see a lot of Republican on Republican fighting. I think.
That's Joy's favorite thing.
Yeah, she loves that.
She loves it so much. All right. Well, listen, we've talked about it earlier today, but we do have some viewer questions about how the pregnancy is going, if you don't mind.
Sure.
All right. Question number 1. Have you set up a nursery, which is very exciting?
I have. I'm a little superstitious about it. I waited till the 20-week full anatomy scan. And then as soon as everything looked good, we got it underway. It's so cute. I wouldn't say we have a theme, but we did like a light blue. We're doing clouds. I've got hot air balloons coming. It's beautiful. And I'm like, it felt real. Like once the crib was in, I was like, oh, he's coming.
That's
like,
right. No, for sure.
It's so cute. And I sometimes just sit in there and like hang out with the dogs and just like imagine like just taking all in that in 2 months I'm gonna have a child.
Yeah, so it's been a minute for me, and hopefully the technology has gotten better. But the big question for you is, does the monitor, I assume you have a video monitor, does the monitor reach to every part of your house that you'll be in?
Oh, that's a good point.
Like sometimes for volume and things like that, we'd go and watch a movie in the basement when the kid was asleep, and it would be like spacey and kind of come in and out.
And
check that out.
I'll go crazy.
Yeah, well, you won't be able to.
Yeah,
you won't be able to stay there. You'll only be where you can watch.
Okay, these are actually helpful hints because
Yes.
we also debated there. We had a bit of a discussion over video monitor versus just audio because I'm very big on. I hate that kids are going to grow up with devices constantly themselves on video and putting things out, and I'm like, do I really want an infant that's on? But I was like, yes, I need to see his every move.
You need to see, honest to God, because you're just going to be nervous all the time. You're going to be able to want to see them breathing.
100%.
And it's just the way it is, for me at least.
Yeah. But I need to test that because
Yeah. But you want some distance to be able to do that too. So you can, I think you'll relax more with that. The other thing, I remember they have that, they had like an alarm, a breathing alarm or a movement alarm under the mattress.
Oh, yeah.
Which also, and it will go off for no reason
But
at least
I'd
a dozen
rather-
times. And yeah.
Exactly. You'd rather a false alarm.
Yes.
So that's great.
Question number 2, what are you most nervous about?
Most excited just to meet him and just like to see him. Most nervous. I think there's huge pros to becoming a mom a little later and like having my life more established and our home established. But it's like everything will change overnight.
Yeah.
We're proper adults. I'm 36 and Justin's 37. And it's like we're just flipping everything on its head overnight. And it just feels like a huge responsibility that I want to do a really good job at.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, you're going to be a great mom. I have no doubt about it, honestly. How do you feel about actually like delivering labor? Are you nervous or you feel okay about it?
I'm weirdly at peace because I kind of have a Jesus take the wheel approach.
Yeah.
Every mom I've talked to is like, it's brutal, but you kind of memory hole it. Like,
I think so.
I think it's something that it's like in the grand scheme of things, you kind of forget the harder moments and your mind just remembers the
Which is
best
why
ones.
people have more than one kid.
Yeah, exactly. No one would have. I think it must be honestly something like genetic, or people wouldn't have multiple kids.
All right. We have questions about the name. I know you're not going to tell us the name, but have you narrowed it down? Do you have the name?
We've narrowed it. I kind of think we have the name. We haven't officially said between the two of us that we have it, but I think there's a mutual understanding of what it is.
Okay.
And there's no fight over it. Like we're very happy down to 2, but I think we're both gravitating toward 1.
Is there a middle name?
Yes, and the middle's decided because it's a but
They're
they're all kind of family adjacent, but we definitely have the middle name decided.
Okay, so not Brian, but that's fine. All right.
The next one.
Next one. There we go. And lastly, so far for you, and I guess we talked about this with your discomfort right now, but what are the biggest surprises about being pregnant?
This sounds trite because women do talk about it, but I also think I'll take responsibility here. If you're not pregnant, I don't think I listened that much
That's
when my
interesting.
pregnant friends were like talking about it. I was always want to be supportive of them, but I am a little surprised by like just how uncomfortable things are and just how many like little things can go wrong, like just random things, not wrong, but just that you didn't expect. So I'm very big on vocalizing all of the things that I'm feeling because I like to think it helps other women. But yeah, it's so uncomfortable, especially if you're petite. Like, I want Carly, my producer, to have a child, but she's littler than I am. And I'm like, that is going to be so uncomfortable for you. Like, he doesn't have anywhere to go and my back just hurts. And they showed me him on like the ultrasound and you literally see his little feet like kicking like my ribs. I was like, that makes sense because that's how it feels. It's so cute though.
I'm sure. All right. So you can look at a sonogram and see everything and understand it and all that kind of stuff. Yes.
Yeah. That's one of the best parts is like seeing him become an actual like human in the last month.
Yeah. Oh, it's so exciting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're excited. We're all along for the journey with you. Luckily, you work on a television show for women where maybe talking about this is a good thing that we should continue to do, and we'll go on the journey with you. And we've kind of been on it the whole time, which is great. Thank you for joining me today, Alyssa. Tomorrow, I'll be back with Anna Navarro in her usual Thursday slot. I'm going to give people a tease. Next week, Whoopi Goldberg's coming back for the second time in like a month. This is unbelievable. Who knew? We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody.